To make this a reality, we in Botswana are open to capacity strengthening for the production of COVID-19 vaccines. In order to make the desired impact under your able leadership, the United Nations system, and especially the principal organs, must work closely together and act jointly in a coordinated way. While my country holds the presidency of the Economic and Social Council, ECOSOC, we will strive together with you, Mr. President, to strengthen coordination and collaboration between the two principal organs of the United Nations that we lead. As you indicated in your vision statement, this will assist to make the United Nations stronger and more effective in discharging its mandate. Mr. President, our economies are still reeling from the impact of the heavy blow inflicted by the unparalleled scale of the pandemic. For small economies in particular, pre-existing challenges have been worsened on the economic mainstays such as trade, tourism, and the extractive industry. This undermines our ability to implement the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development and its SDGs. Unfortunately, it is the most vulnerable and neediest in our societies who run the risk of being left furthest behind. However, all is not lost. I am hopeful that if we press the reset button, reaffirm our commitment to multilateral ideals, and we accelerate the implementation of SDGs in this decade of action, as you rightly point out also in your vision statement, Mr. President, financing trade, technology, and debt sustainability are some of the prerequisites for attaining the goals. My delegation has also taken note of your call for rebuilding back better, stronger, greener, and bluer. We could not agree more. The idea of doing different things differently is in line with our current approach at home. Upon realizing the scale of disruption occasioned by the pandemic, my government has instituted a reset agenda which comprises 5 priorities that are also aligned to the priority themes of your presidency. Firstly, the government is fully committed to save Botswana's population from COVID-19 through health programs that include vaccination. Secondly, we are reforming the public service to ensure effective implementation of government policies. Thirdly, we are accelerating digitalization in the delivery of services by government and creating enabling conditions for the active involvement of the private sector and society in the uptake and utilization of digital technologies. Our fourth priority is value chain development. This entails unlocking more value in key sectors such as mining, tourism, agriculture, and education by way of innovation and creativity of our people, especially the youth. This priority is aimed at accelerating economic diversification and youth empowerment and their employment. The fifth priority relates to mindset change. Here the aim is to inspire people to own the national development goals, as well as to embrace the goals of both disposition and action. My government believes that the reset agenda and its priorities, which are in the context of the COVID-19 pandemic, will enable us to recover from it stronger and to realize our development aspirations as enshrined in our National Vision 2036 and the 11th National Development Plan. These national frameworks are aligned to the global blueprint or in the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development and the African Union's Continental Agenda 2063. We are, however, mindful of the fact that in an increasingly interdependent setting, Botswana's development trajectory is inextricably linked with that of the rest of the world. Now more than ever, multilateralism, international cooperation, and global solidarity is imperative. The onus is therefore on this Assembly as the main deliberative, policy-making, and representative organ of the UN to strive for a better world, a world where no country is left behind in attaining the 17 SDG goals. Beyond what we can do as individual countries, it is also our hope that the lessons being learned from this pandemic will enable the United Nations to find innovative ways for enhanced collaboration with regional and sub-regional organizations to ensure preparedness for future pandemics and epidemics. Mr. President, you assume your global leadership role at a time when the world is grappling with a myriad of other pressing global challenges, including devastating natural disasters associated with climate change, with small island countries among the most vulnerable. In the recent months, massive and uncontrolled floods swept across Western Europe, Asia, and other places, destroying riverbanks, homes, and killing hundreds in their wake. hurricanes, typhoons, and storms, as we just again witnessed in countries like Haiti, the United States, and other places, are a major cause of devastation to critical infrastructure worth billions and contributory to humanitarian crisis. In the same wavelength, my own region, Southern Africa, has not been spared from the atrocious path of climate change. He included disasters evidenced by the rainy seasons, triggering floods, and combined with the devastating cyclones Kenneth and Idaya and Cyclone Eloise. This recurrent situation also calls for our region to strengthen its early warning and disaster preparedness mechanisms through regional collaboration with all stakeholders with the support of the United Nations. Whereas the past decade has already been the hottest in our planet, in recent months, more record-breaking temperatures and other climate change-induced incidents signal the real danger of increased global warming. The International Panel on Climate Change has again recently warned of a code red for humanity. Today, more than ever before, our planet has evidently become dangerously warmer, triggering melting ice, rising seas, floods, cyclones, hurricanes, droughts, and other extreme weather events. Combined with air pollution, these events destroy impeccable ecosystems, leading to negative repercussions for sustainable development, health, and food production systems, as well as food security. Mr. President, we have all along recognized that climate change is the greatest challenge we face, and indeed a real existential threat, demanding the urgent need to take bold measures to regulate the manner in which we interact with our environment by, among others, adopting technologies that reduce carbon emissions. I'd like to still believe that we can prevent the situation from getting much worse and provide innovative solutions. As former Secretary General Kofi Annan once reminded us, the world is not ours to keep. We hold it in trust for future generations. In September 2015, we committed ourselves to working tirelessly for the full implementation of 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development in all its three dimensions, being economic, social, environmental, in a balanced and integrated manner that also embraced the full respect for the enjoyment of all fundamental human rights. In the interest of time, Mr. President, I will skip and deposit the rest for the record, only to finish by saying it is regrettable that at a time when the main battle should be won against an invisible enemy, COVID-19, we continue to witness acts of violence which seek to take advantage and further threaten international peace and security. In our sub-region, where I had the privilege to serve as chair of the Southern Africa Development Community SADC, organ on politics, defense and security, until recently in August 2021, we have committed to countering and eliminating the threat of terrorism in all its forms and manifestations. In addition to the threat to peace and stability brought about by terrorist insurgents in Mozambique, which we condemn, sanctions against Zimbabwe are a setback to our stability in the region. Botswana therefore calls on the international community to end sanctions against Zimbabwe. At the national level, my government continues to take steps towards keeping our people safe and thus contributing to the larger ideal of the maintenance of international peace and security. In this connection, my government has signed a memorandum of understanding with the United Nations Office of Counterterrorism in June 2021 with a view to enhance Botswana's capabilities and ability to better detect and deter terrorism. Mr. President, in concluding my remarks, let me reaffirm Botswana's abiding faith in the principles and purposes of the Charter of the United Nations, as well as the various multilateral instruments, including the Universal Declaration of Human Rights and other protocols calling for universal access to education, good quality health care, food, rights of people with disabilities, women and children, as well as creating adequate opportunities for our youth population. Let me reassure you, Mr. President, of my country's full support, commitment and cooperation in enabling you to fulfill your mandate during this 76th session of the United Nations General Assembly. I thank you for your attention.
On behalf of the General Assembly, I wish to thank the President of the Republic of Botswana for the statement just made, and I request protocol to escort His Excellency. I now give the floor to the distinguished representative of Cuba to introduce an address by the head of state.
Señor Presidente.
President, I have the honor of introducing the statement, a pre-recorded statement of the President of the Republic of Cuba, Miguel Díaz-Canel Bermúdez.
Señor Secretario General,
Secretary General, Mr. President, we are living in uncertain times under the devastating impact of a pandemic which has sharpened the structural inequalities as well as global crisis. The role of multilateralism and of the United Nations are increasingly important, and international cooperation has been inadequate. The application of neoliberal formulas during decades has reduced the abilities of states to address the needs of their population. The most vulnerable have remained without protection, while the richest nations, the elites, and pharmaceutical transnationals are increasing their profits. Combining efforts and determination for the good of humankind is